Taliban. Yes, you heard it right. Are you wondering why the Taliban is back in control of Afghanistan? Did the 20 years military campaign fighting the Taliban change anything? And how are the Afghani women doing? Welcome to the World Econ News. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification button to get updates and information about the latest international economic news items. The Taliban issued a decree on Friday, December the 3rd, that was supposed to highlight major changes regarding the status and rights of women in Afghanistan. On the positive side, the decree did include some changes that would contribute positively to the well-being of Afghani women, but it also failed even remotely to mention major issues such as women's rights to education, work, inheritance, and holding public office positions. Of course, the Taliban is more interested in implementing their strict interpretation of Islam in general and whatever parts of the Sharia law that satisfies the majority of the tribes and factions outside major cities, places that historically gave birth to the al-Mujahideen militias and al-Qaeda. Nevertheless, analysts believe that the new Taliban is very different from the old, harsh, ruthless, heartless old Taliban. I would love to cheer you up now with some good news about the new Afghanistan, but I have to disappoint you for now. The new Afghanistan is not doing very well at the moment, and I'll tell you why and what and who's mostly to blame. But first, a little history lesson, because you cannot understand a conflict or crisis without learning at least some basics about it. So here it goes, a brief history lesson about Afghanistan. Technically speaking, the recent modern history of Afghanistan can be summed up in very few words. The Cold War, the battle between the schools of capitalism and communism. If someone told you that the Cold War was won by the West, headed by the USA, without firing a single shot, you should ask a few million Afghanis who either died or became amputees during the Cold War battles they fought on behalf of America throughout the 80s. Hollywood even made a movie about this fact, titled Charlie's War, starring Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts. If it was not for the Russian meddling and occupation of Afghanistan in 1979 and the American creation of the al-Mujahideen terrorist group to fight the Soviets, Afghanistan would be now probably at least similar to neighboring states in terms of economics, political stability, and human rights, or even better. Did the Western or Russian imperialism do any good to the countries they occupied or used as a proxy battleground? It's hard to believe they did, just looking at Afghanistan. After Afghanistan won its third war with the British colonizers in 1920, it began to progress and catch up with the rest of the world. In fact, by the mid-1950s, it was ahead of its time, despite some internal political feuds. Afghanistan even beat countries like Canada in recognizing the importance of women's rights and the importance of equality. Yes, I said Canada. Canada didn't legally recognize women as people until 1956. Shocking, right? In Canada's defense, human rights were technically a nice, far-fetched dream for all human beings except the very wealthy, emperors, and royals up until the late 1950s or early 60s globally. Let's all thank technology for changing our world. Okay, back to Afghanistan and its march to become a developed, progressive country. The dream was hard, and the people of Afghanistan and its leadership, as a matter of fact, had to deal with constant Russian and American meddling. And sadly, that progressive dream became a nightmare once Afghanistan became an official Cold War battleground. Sadly, till this day, it never recovered. In fact, for most of the 80s and 90s, it was under UN and international sanctions, which made the situation worse and caused famine, starvation, and endless suffering. There were three factors that were really harmful to Afghanistan and basically the icing on the cake, and in a bad way. The first factor is the US invasion. Good intentions combined with military invasion campaigns are one of the most dangerous combinations to justify helping any population on the face of the planet. On October the 7th, 2001, the USA invaded Afghanistan to avenge the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, which experts still cannot grasp who is exactly behind. All of the hijackers but one were allegedly Saudi citizens. Osama bin Laden denied any involvement all the way up to his assassination in Pakistan in 2011, and Iraq was invaded a few years later in 2003, since it was also accused without solid proof of being involved. Anyway, the Americans wanted revenge and didn't have a solid plan other than to start a war, and no plans to fix anything after the revenge campaign was completed. They didn't contemplate a plan afterwards, but by this time it was too late, and it didn't work. The second and third factors are the women's rights advocates and groups, along with many NGOs. First, they cheered for the invasion of Afghanistan because they thought it would help improve the already bad situation, without having nor setting a clear agenda on how the war could be used to the benefit of the Afghani people and women. These were strange times. Even the brightest minds thought that guns and bombs would simply make people's lives better. They probably thought anything is better than the situation as it is. So these women's rights advocates and many other NGOs encouraged the US military and the political establishment to get the war started with only one goal, which was eradicating the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. But since there was no clear plan, they failed to achieve it. As you already know, Afghanistan is now in the iron fist of the Taliban, and meanwhile Al-Qaeda grows in strength and size. They managed to hijack the Arab Spring, and that was the revolution to get rid of dictators in Syria, Libya, Yemen, Tunisia, and Egypt. Al-Qaeda also wrecked Iraq and Somalia, killing more than 1 million Arabs and Muslims. Besides that, their affiliate organizations also caused destruction in several African and Asian countries, adding to countless deaths and serious suffering. You thought Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and their affiliates kill only Western people and are busy mass slaughtering Christians? No, the truth is very far from that. They murdered 10,000 times more Muslims and Arabs than people from other religions and regions of the world. The official numbers and scales of destruction tell it all. They are a bigger threat to Muslims than they are to any other group. After doing some research and interviewing renowned human rights activists, I learned that the organizations and programs who do actually help the most vulnerable Afghanis to progress and prosper were always extremely underfunded. Meanwhile, countless billions were spent on the new Afghani army and the security apparatus, who turned out to be controlled by the Taliban and radicals. As for most NGOs and rich, powerful women advocacy groups, they seemed to be corruption-infested, cash-sucking machines that enriched a few and screwed the majority. They could have built 10,000 schools across Afghanistan with a mere $10 billion just for girls and women, and hired 300,000 women to teach in and run these schools, and implemented a similar strategy in the healthcare and social services. The results would have been amazing. Instead, billions of dollars was wasted and fell into the wrong hands. So, fast forward to where we are now. In 2014, the USA decided to begin to withdraw its army slowly from Afghanistan. On August 30th, 2021, this withdrawal was completed. But what happened is that the Taliban had been taking over every inch of land the USA withdrew from. And in February 2019, when the last soldier left, the Taliban seized Afghanistan completely, along with its army, security forces, and government in mere days. Since then, none of the US senators, congressmen, military leaders, and the leaders of other nations who joined in the invasion, such as the United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada, has spoken about nor taken action regarding the newly created reality. The same counts for almost all NGOs, rich, powerful women rights advocates, nor has the UN done anything about the fact the Taliban has regained full control of Afghanistan. You have to keep in mind these entities were very loud in cheering for the war and when asking for more money to help the Afghani people and women in particular. Before the invasion, these NGOs and rich, powerful women's rights advocates all cheered for the war, while after the invasion and during the occupation, they made choices of which they knew wouldn't benefit Afghanistan, but rather benefit themselves and their friends. By the time the music stopped playing and cash stopped pouring in, Afghanistan was right back where it was before the invasion. Or possibly even worse. According to experts, Iran is next, and the US withdrawal from sunny Afghanistan has something to do with the potential invasion of Shia Iran, which just happens to be sandwiched between Iraq and Afghanistan, the world's fourth largest oil and gas reserves. The truth hurts. Sometimes the world does not make any sense. I'll not just leave you hanging here feeling cold and negative, because there is more to the story. You see, lessons have been learned. The new Taliban is very different from the old Taliban. Al-Qaeda is on the run and is not welcome back in Afghanistan. Many Muslim countries and scholars are working very hard on convincing the Taliban that Islam granted and guaranteed women endless rights in many important aspects of life, including education, work, doing business, divorce, inheritance, playing sports, owning properties, possession of money, and the freedom to do what they please with it, and so much more. Also, there are still plenty of good human rights advocates and NGOs that are not corrupt and are willing to help the Taliban build schools, colleges, health centers, sports centers, and so many other things that are run by women and serve only women. The Biden administration seems to be keen on negotiating with the Taliban without imposing sanctions that starve people. And last but not least, keep in mind that large-scale change is very slow to come. So yes, there's still hope, so let's be hopeful and helpful to make this world a better place. That's it for this video. Farewell, be cool, stay freaking positive, and if you'd like to stay updated and informed about the latest news topics, hit the subscribe and bell icons. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.